BingX, a trusted global crypto exchange. Trade spot, futures, or copy top traders easily. Sign up via the link or referral code to get 30 USDT instantly, plus up to 1,500 USDT in bonuses for verification, deposit, and trading.
Homes in Australia could become significantly more affordable, potentially dropping by as much as $100,000 over the next decade. If the nation's capital cities undertake a radical overhaul of their current zoning regulations. This bold projection comes from a new report by the esteemed Grattan Institute, which advocates for a sweeping reform that would permit the construction of three-storey townhouses and apartments on virtually all residential land. The think tank is calling for an end to what it terms the age of NIMBYism and urges a complete housing policy revolution. It posits that Australians are, in fact, receptive to the idea of apartment and townhouse living, particularly when it offers the promise of more accessible and conveniently located residences. Brendan Coates, director of the Grattan Institute's Housing and Economic Security Program, emphasizes that it is now imperative for Australians to acknowledge that their largest cities must accommodate a greater population density if the burgeoning demand for housing, especially among younger generations, is to be met. For decades, Australia has demonstrably failed to construct sufficient homes in the very locations where people most desire to reside. This chronic undersupply has precipitated a housing affordability crisis that is fracturing families and communities, and critically, diminishing the life prospects of young Australians. The Grattan report outlines a comprehensive strategy to combat this crisis, asserting that relaxing zoning restrictions to permit three-storey townhouses and apartments across all residential land could unlock the construction of over 1 million new homes in Sydney alone. This assertion is backed by substantial evidence, as highlighted in the report co-authored by Coates, Joey Maloney, and Matthew Bowes, which indicates a consistent correlation between relaxed planning controls and an increase in both the quantity and affordability of housing, with notable success observed in Auckland, New Zealand. Grattan's meticulously crafted modeling suggests that the proposed reforms could inject an additional 67,000 homes into Australia's housing market annually, a significant boost compared to the current construction rate. Over a 10-year period, this enhanced supply is projected to exert downward pressure on rental prices, potentially reducing them by 12% compared to existing trajectories. More strikingly, the cost of a median-priced home could decrease by over $100,000 within a decade, with even more substantial savings anticipated in the long term. Current restrictions, however, present a significant hurdle. Leaders in New South Wales and Victoria are reportedly working to dismantle rules that impede the development of multi-unit dwellings in suburban areas strategically located near city centres and public transport. Despite these efforts, the Grattan Institute calculates that an overwhelming 80% of residential land within a 30-kilometre radius of Sydney's central business district is still restricted to housing of 3 stories or less. In Melbourne, a staggering 87% of all residential land faces similar constraints. The situation is even more restrictive in Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide, where 3/4 or more of residential land is zoned for a maximum of 2 stories. Consequently, Australia's major cities are characterized by some of the lowest population densities globally. The potential impact of increasing density is profound. If Sydney's inner 15-kilometre radius were to achieve the same housing density as Toronto, a city comparable in quality of life metrics, it would translate into an additional 250,000 well-situated homes. Similarly, if Melbourne's inner 15 kilometres were to match the density of Los Angeles, it would gain an impressive 431,000 homes within easy reach of the CBD. Michael Fotheringham, the managing director of the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute, strongly advocates for Australia to ascend from its current position at the bottom of international urban density rankings. He highlights a clear economic rationale for prioritizing increased density, noting that more accessible and affordable housing would provide crucial support for essential workers, such as nurses. Fotheringham points to recent reforms initiated by Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen, which represent the most significant planning overhaul in a decade, specifically targeting what he describes as old-fashioned NIMBY-type laws. These reforms, he elaborates, have notably curtailed the right to object to new building projects, while acknowledging concerns from residents about the visual impact of increased density in their Neighborhoods. Fotheringham counters that modern apartments and townhouses often offer superior amenities compared to the older, less maintained housing they replace. However, even these recent changes, while beneficial, are deemed insufficient by Brendan Coates. The Grattan report goes further, recommending that land surrounding major city transport hubs should be rezoned for significantly higher density living, at least 6 stories, and that heritage protections, which currently encompass a substantial portion of inner-city land, should be subject to rigorous review. Coates identifies Sydney as ground zero for the national housing crisis, lamenting that the New South Wales planning system inherently operates on a default no principle. To address this systemic issue, the report proposes a streamlined planning application process. Developments up to 3 stories that adhere to clearly defined standards should no longer require a permit. Furthermore, larger developments meeting preset criteria should be assessed through deemed to comply pathways, significantly accelerating the approval process and fostering much-needed development.